Hi, thank you for joining me. In today's video, we're just going to concentrate on one of a series of sentence types that you can construct in English. This is a very basic sentence. It's going to be comprised of a subject, followed by a verb, followed by an object. Again, a simple sentence, very, very basic, but I did want to go over the formulation and also a little bit about how to break down a sentence, so decompose it so that you're more familiar with the way in which they're structured. Through this process, hopefully you'll see an English sentence written in a way that almost mimics a math sentence, right? Or a math expression. You see that it's very formulaic. All right, let's go ahead and take a look on screen. So hopefully you can see it on the screen. I'll try to make a little bit of room. We're going to be focusing on grammar, right? And concentrating on verbs and objects. All right, just to define first a verb, we want, well, I guess I can move. Okay, we're going to go ahead and define a verb as simply an action word. So an action word. Sometimes it is referred to as a doing word. I'm going to go ahead and put that in quotation marks because I wouldn't use this term formally, but it's a doing word, right? It tells you what a subject is engaged with or what's engaging the subject. All right, let's go ahead and also jump into the next word, which is an object. Okay, an object, put simply, is just what is affected or impacted directly by the verb in the sentence. So it is the thing, oops, forgive my handwriting, the thing being affected, not affected with an E, by the verb. Very exciting to watch me write. Okay, we kind of got those two out of the way. We've defined them briefly. Let's go ahead and do a few exercises in which I present you with a very simple sentence, and then from there we're going to decompose it, or deconstruct it rather, into its subject, its verb, and of course the object of that verb. All right, let's go ahead and start with the cat chased the ball. Period. All right, very basic sentence. The first thing we want to ask ourselves is who or what is the sentence about? This will help us identify the subject. From here, I'm going to go ahead and switch to orange. We're going to underline the subject as being the cat. Now, a lot of people are just going to want to focus on cat as being the subject. That's correct to an extent. However, there is a definitive article in there, which is the, referring to a specific cat. So it's very important that when identifying the subject, you include either a definitive or in some cases a general article. But in this case, it's a definitive article, which is the. So the cat, the both parts, comprise the subject. And I'm going to go ahead and label it as such. All right, now we figured out what our subject is. In this case, it's the cat. The next thing we need to ask ourselves is, okay, we've got our subject. We're going to examine the predicate. So what is the cat doing? Take a moment to look at the sentence. Ask yourself, well, we know it chased the ball, but which of those words, those three words, is going to be the operative or action word here? Chased. I'm going to switch my color to green and label it as, oops, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and label it as my verb, just so I can visualize it. So I can see that now I have my subject plus the verb, but what is being affected or impacted directly by the verb, chased? Well, let's go back and reread it. We know we have the cat as the thing we're talking about. We know he or she chased. What did it chase? The ball. This is going to be the object of our sentence, of the verb. And I'm going to draw that arrow just so that you can visualize how the verb, chased, is referring directly to the ball. Let's continue with another sentence, number 2. We can say Miles sat by the chair. Period. Okay, so it's a little more complex, right? We have our subject, we do have a verb, we also have some prepositions, but we also have a very basic noun or a simple object in this case. All right. Again, you just need to ask yourself, who or what are we talking about in the sentence? Miles. Miles is who we're talking about. We're going to go ahead and underline him and label as well as the subject. Okay, well, what did Miles do? Well, we know he sat. Sat is the operative verb. This is exactly what he's doing. You could also include sat by, right? So it's a preposition. It tells us more about the verb. This would be a verb phrase, but for now we're just going to go ahead and label it as a verb. He sat by. Well, what did he sit by? Or besides in this case? The chair, which is going to be the object of the action sat, right? He sat by the chair. So I'm going to go ahead and label it as an object and draw a quick little arrow to the chair to show that the verb is referring to or affecting the chair. And just for good measure, because all good things come in threes, let's do a third one. We could say the man, or you know what, let's go ahead and change that article. We'll say a man threw, not the, through will be consistent, through a ball, period. Again, very basic sentence. We've got a subject, we've got a very simple predicate. What's our subject? Who or what are we talking about? Again, we have that article there, a man. It's a general article, which means we're not referring to someone specific. We're just talking about a man. It could be anyone. So, still the subject. A man is our subject. This is exactly who we're referring to. What did this man do? Or what did a man do? Well, we know he threw, which is our verb. Well, what did he throw? Oh, well, the thing that was thrown is going to be the ball. A ball, which makes our object. So, threw, what did he throw? The ball. And when you go back and you kind of add these little plus signs, you can see that this construction, very, very basic, very, very simple, very formulaic. Start with our subject, followed by a verb, and then an object, which is, again, the thing being affected or impacted by the verb you're using in the sentence. As your sentences become more complex, I'll go ahead and stop my share. As your sentences grow and become more complex, you're likely to add more prepositions or adverbs to discuss your verbs further and to, inspire more detail and make your sentences overall more interesting. For now, we're just taking a look, like I said, at the simple construction of a subject, verb, and an object. All right, thank you so much for joining me. In the next one, we're going to continue practicing with this particular formula, and we're going to continue beyond that in the various other constructions, which will be, let's say, more advanced. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining me.